The Breaking Through 3030 show is sponsored by Affinitive LLC. Values and investment advice together at last. Visit us on the web at affinitive.com.
Welcome to Breaking Through, Tanya Bennett. I'm so happy to have you today. I would love for you to introduce yourself to our panel.
Hi, I am Tanya Bennett, and I am the CEO and founder of Ignited Prep, which Ignited Prep is a membership platform that is intended to create resources and training and affordable coaching for people that need it the most but have minimal funds. So I have an extensive background in sales and marketing. I have led sales teams for Hilton, Ritz-Carlton, Topgolf, major brands. And I have a passion for helping people to be successful. And I think that I've realized small businesses fail, not because they aren't necessarily good at what they do, but because they don't know how to sell and make money with what they do. So I built my platform around that with helping them. And I think my passion is for helping those who have limited resources and haven't necessarily had an equal playing field. So that's why I have particularly chosen that audience to work with.
Awesome. Anything else that you want to say about you or your life before we start digging in?
Sure. I'm a single mom to a 12-year-old son who thinks he's 40. And I'm an avid CrossFitter. I am very passionate, I think, about, I think it comes, I realized that I created my own business from my own trauma as a child, is that I realized when I was a child, I always felt different. I felt that I didn't fit in. And a lot of that was around finances. I felt that I wasn't enough because I didn't come from a family with money. And I didn't realize until I had started my company and doing my messaging and my videos that my messaging revolved around that place of that you are more than your bank account. You should not, you have value, you are enough. And a weekend, I was like, wait a minute, it's like I'm talking to my own inner child here. So yeah, so that's about it for me.
Love it. Thanks, Tanya. Richard, let's start with you. You can do your 2 questions.
So first of all, welcome, Tanya. We've been friends on Facebook for a few days now, and I've watched some of your content, and man, there's some amazing energy that you bring to your words, and I absolutely love that. And I love just the mission to bring great things to people who don't necessarily have vast resources. That's a message that couldn't possibly resonate more with me. A couple of questions just to get started. So with the organization that you have created, first of all, what's the monetization model that you're pursuing? So how are you making money from these people who have limited resources? And second, how are you planning to scale that?
Sure. So right now, actually, I am scaling because the membership community is being built. So right now I have about 4 months of content it's training modules. And those training modules are anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, because I also realize that a lot of the people that I'm trying to reach have other jobs. So they do not have a lot of time to invest in taking long courses. So right now, the model, this is the only thing that I'm selling right now. And it is a one-time fee of $99. And then it is $10 a month. That $99 gets access to weekly training courses that will be emailed to them because the platform isn't built yet. It also gives them 1 complimentary coaching session with me. And then they are also given the option to schedule other coaching sessions with no contract at a fee of $119 an hour. And in order to scale that, because I know that my time is limited, and if I'm coaching and selling, that becomes a little bit tricky. I have already worked and signed on one other coach that is going to help me do that second coaching session if someone is interested in doing that. And they are a seasoned sales coach. So we'll be able to definitely lead the content.
Well, just so in a nutshell, what is the problem that you're looking to overcome here? What's the thing you want to problem solve?
It varies. So for most people, what I'm finding is that a lot of it is people that have a business idea, or they'd like to create a side hustle, or either a side hustle that will generate into an idea so that they can stop working and have a life around what they're like their children. A lot of them are single moms, like me, actually. So I would say the majority of the people that I've spoken to that it's resonated with so far are people that really need help with the beginning phases of messaging, of how to create their elevator pitch, of how to package what they're selling.
Just let me jump in. I mean, what problems are you facing that you are looking to overcome?
Well, and it's funny because this week has I've hit momentum. And I think it's because that's the crazy thing about what I'm doing is I'm learning as I'm going. And every time I have a milestone, I'm like, oh, I need to make a module for this. And so I go and I do a module. But this week I've recognized, I did realize, I know who my target audience is now. And that I think that I had a lot of one-on-one calls with people, and I wasn't having much success selling. And now that I've kind of dove into who my target audience is, I'm having a lot more success. Now, I will say the one challenge that I'm having, I think still, is I have two target audiences. I have the first person that needs the help, that needs training to try to start their business. The second target audience is the coach that I need that can see the vision of, I will be feeding them people to coach for that price range, that with no contracts, but they'll have it in volume, so they'll make money. And it's hard to I guess show them the visibility because the membership community isn't built yet. So I can't show them how they'll have access to everything and be able to use my training content. So that's been a big challenge, and I'm working on that messaging for that group. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome. Christy.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
You have an incredible energy.
Thank you.
It's gonna play so well. It's gonna carry you so far. So I was just looking over just all these things you've done, the training, the development, and all these things. So you have a whole lot of these tools already in place that we normally would be suggesting to you. So it's really interesting working with someone like you, an advisor, a counselor. So my first question is in the success you've had before in your personal life and things like that, do you have a formula that you use? Like, okay, this person fits into this formula, so I know to follow this. I know to follow this. I know to follow this. And obviously that's brought you some success. So are you using any of those? Do you have formulas that you use to help people along?
I think that's a great question. I think that I am the type of person, the formula that I think I've always used, whether it is in business or whether it is for my own personal development, whether that was weight loss, whether that was recovery, whether that was going to the gym or cooking. I have this process of, I try to find the experts, because I don't claim to know everything. So I try to find the experts in the fields that I may not be as seasoned in. And then I try to figure out kind of what they are doing. And then I mold it into something of mine that will speak to me. And so I think that's kind of, and then I've also learned the biggest formula, and this is going to sound horrible, but it's just the truth. I call it the underachievement plan. And it's because when we make goals too high, people shut down and they freeze. And
Yes.
so I truly like to go slow. And if I'm coaching someone and I'm like, okay, how do we feel about doing this next week? If they're like, oh, I think I can do that, then that means it's too high. That means, nope, we need to take it down, because there should be no question whatsoever about what you should be able to accomplish, especially when you're first getting started, because starting is the hardest part. And if you get behind and you feel defeated before you even start, that's what prevents people from going. Now, it's interesting though, you did mention, Christy, my energy, and I'm learning, and I've always said it, but it's coming to fruition right now. My passion is my strength. My passion is my weakness. For some people, learning to channel that. For some people, it overwhelms them just being on the phone, because I'm so passionate, and I sometimes I have to simmer down, and I hate it. I had it as a kid too, and I'm always like, oh, but I got to simmer it down.
Simmer down now.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, so here's the thing. So it sounds like you have a formula that you use for yourself and your personal success. So can you identify why maybe this, can you translate that formula over into this for your personal self? Can you identify your formulas? Maybe even kind of chart them, keep track of them, and use those formulas for the other people as well that you're trying to help?
Yeah, I think I am doing that. I especially now that I'm very clear about who the target audience is, because that chipping away formula, that really works for them, because most of them have full-time jobs and little resources. So those small bits of, and again, I designed my course like that. Again, I would love to say that I planned it all to be that way. I didn't. It just kind of magically happened. But I definitely think that that the target audience that I am finding that I speak the loudest to, and what is really crazy, I just have to share, I did a vision board before I started this company, and because I had the opportunity, it kind of fell in my lap. Like I had lost my job, and I knew I had written down last year at this time that this is what I want to do. This is my passion. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to help people start start businesses, teach them how to do it. I want to be a motivational speaker, and I want to write a book. I lost my job 2 weeks before Christmas, and I literally was like, well, this is it. It's time. I'm doing this. And so I created this vision board. But what was really interesting about my vision board this time, in the past I had done them, and in the past they were filled with Range Rovers and trips to Hawaii and pools, and it was all about me, right? This time though, it was completely different. And this time my vision boards, like I look at it right now, and I've got an eagle coming up out of the water and then holding hands with people. And I've got me releasing that eagle into a flock of people that are support, that will help those people. But the interesting thing is that the next vision board that I had is a picture of the people that I wanted to help. And they were women, but primarily women of color. And it was because I realized that in my own journey in the past couple of years, I feel like women of color have been, for lack of better words, the lowest on the power chart, that their voices are usually the ones that are never heard. They're usually the ones with the least resources. And so I knew that those were the people I not only wanted to help, but that if my company was ever going to be successful, that they needed to be on my stage and intertwined with me to help me be the voice of what I wanted. And the irony is of the 6 clients that I've signed up in the last week, 5 of them are women of color.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Ori.
So I want to agree with everybody else. I love your energy this morning. And I love what you are trying to do, and I see the problems inherent in it. So I do see the obstacle that you're having, but it looks like you're getting good early momentum anyway and early traction. So that's a good sign. My 2 questions is first of all, where will this membership fit into your larger business goals, or is this it? Is this where you're going to focus?
The vision that I have for membership is that I look at it extending across all industries. because whether you own a construction company, whether you are a counselor, whether you own a small restaurant, you need to learn sales. You need to learn how to promote your business so that someone will purchase something from you. I envision, like, right now I'm scaling to where I'm really going after individual business owners, not the small business. But eventually I'm really passionate about helping especially like small restaurants, because they have been hit so hard from the pandemic. And I do feel that, like, for those small business owners, those small restaurants, if they were in my community, I envision if they needed someone for HR, they could literally afford to contract it separately from a coach or someone that was already in my membership program. So it would provide resources to them that they wouldn't normally have. But on a larger level, what I look at is that I feel like one of the biggest problems that the small business world has is lack of resources and lack of exposure to things. And I think that you don't know what is out there unless you see it. So eventually I envision having this community that is all industries, but let's say they sign up for sales, they sign up to learn how to post on Facebook and whatever, but then they're in my community and they see something of mental health and they're like, what's this? And they click on it and they watch a video on trauma and they're like, oh my gosh. And it identifies with them and they're able at an affordable price to book a session with someone and talk about it and discover something about themselves. I look at someday having like someone from Mexico that has modules in my membership community, teaching people how to speak Spanish and selling a module for $5. And imagine because my membership is only $10 a month. So if he sold that module at $5 to 300 people in my membership, imagine the difference that it would make in his community and in the lives of the people where he lives, as well as the exposure it gives to the people in my community to learn something that they may not have access to.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then the other thing you said was that you said this week I think you said in momentum. So my question is, do you find yourself moving in and out of a space of momentum? And if so, what triggers you to move in or out?
Woo! Boy, did you just hit that one. Lord. It's funny because I really am committed to posting the real journey on my Facebook and on my Instagram, because let's face it, starting a business is a roller coaster. I mean, I go from hero to zero in 5 seconds daily. It's like the story of my life right now. So the momentum, and I think sometimes I have to stop my brain because my brain gets in this scarcity mindset, right? And I've had, right now, my only lead generation is Clubhouse. For some reason, Clubhouse has been an open door for me. And remember that goal I said that I wanted to be a motivational speaker? It's happening on Clubhouse. And every time I speak in Clubhouse, my DMs blow up, my calendar fills up. And so I think that I'm a little disappointed in myself with some of that. Well, not disappointed. It's been a growing process. Even just saying that, again, that's the old me talking. But I had a lot of good momentum like last week, and where I had like 3 or 4 days of full appointments. I didn't have my messaging right then, and I wasn't able to convert it over. But this week I have had my messaging right. And so my closing rate of the people that I've had on my calendar, I'd say I've closed 80% of the people that I've spoken to this week, which is a great ratio. The problem is this week, I haven't, Clubhouse there's something going on like with our hallways or something, and I'm not seeing the same rooms, and the people that I was moderating with, it's harder to find them. So I'm trying to figure out my way there, and it's slowed down my momentum with actually getting appointments. So that's been a little bit of the stop go. And I had an investor that was really interested in working with me. And then all of a sudden, and I also had a partner when I first started. And this has just kind of evolved to where with my partner, it was definitely becoming my vision, my company. I could see it. And she had also overcommitted. She ran 2 other businesses, and she saw very quickly that she was not able to provide what we needed to grow So she pulled out. And then when she pulled out, I think that made the investor that was looking at me a little bit uncomfortable. But here's the crazy thing is, so I had a Reiki session in 2019. And in 2019, I went back and read it. It was in April of 2019. And this Reiki session told me, you were not meant to collaborate. You were meant to lift the vibration in your community, in your surrounding area. And you don't need anyone to do that with. So when I saw that kind of relieved the pressure of losing my partner. I was like, okay, I've got everything in place. I can do this on my own. And then with the investor, the crazy thing is the week before, I had been speaking with a couple of people, and 2 people had said, just be careful, Tanya. Sometimes if you bring an investor in, you can end up, it's like you work for someone. And that was in my head. And so when that fell through, I realized that I try to live by, I read this book, The Surrender Experiment, and I swear by it. Life gives you everything you need exactly when you need it. And I remembered that life was telling me, no, you don't need to do this. And I wouldn't have acted on it. So the universe took over and handled it for me. But I just had to pick my ego up off the floor and lick my wounds and move on. And so that was a lot of the emotional, because I felt rejected. I felt that I wasn't enough, and I had to sit and work through all of that. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you did. Thank you. That was helpful.
Hello, Tanya.
Hi.
All right, so my 2 questions, one's focused on business and one is focused on you. So we'll start on you first. What are you doing, or what practices do you have in place for your own, I call it leadership sustainability, because the journey of being an entrepreneur and building a business is rough. So we'd love to know a little bit about what you're doing for yourself.
That started this week. Until this week, I realized that a part of the reason that I was crashing was that I hadn't stopped since Christmas, that I had been going nonstop. And it's funny because everyone had always said, when you start your own business, you work harder than you've ever worked, right? Well, I had started my own solo business under someone else before. And don't mistake, 459.59, I was done. Like, it was fine, right? Starting my own company is a whole different ballgame, because there's no branding, there's no message out there. People don't know what I do. I had to create that. This has been the hardest journey I've ever had. And like literally last weekend, I realized I started Friday morning at like 7 a.m. and I worked until 11:30 at night. And then I worked Saturday, I worked Sunday. And I started realizing emotionally, when I started breaking down, something had to change. Also, I'm a single mom, and I saw my son, and there was a moment that I was with him last week, and I felt my heart just feel really lonely. Like I missed him, even though I'd been in the same space with him. I wasn't present with him. So this week, I had tried starting it last week of blocking off my schedule, didn't do it as well. It was a learning process. This week, I literally, I took half of a day Thursday morning, like from 9 until noon. And I went with one of my friends and I had coffee and I shut down. I am still working out so that, again, my energy, if I don't do something with all of that, I sometimes I'm like, I can become Tornado Tanya very quickly. And it's funny because people are always like, I hope that doesn't, I hope you're okay with what I said. I'm like, I eat humble pie for breakfast. I am totally, my ego is gone. It's okay. But so yes, I've realized self-care wise that I need to focus. I need to have time there, not only for my gym and for my son, but for me, whether that's, my meditation has been off a little bit, a lot of that. It's interesting though, that you just said leadership. I do think, right now I have to be very frank. I'm a single mom and I'm trying to make money with a very low price offering, right? So I don't necessarily have the money right now to invest in a coach. But I will say that the conversations I'm having daily are kind of investing in me anyways, even if they don't sign up with me, they give me great ideas. So that I think can sustain me until then. But I hear what you're saying. I think eventually I am definitely going to need a coach to keep me grounded so that I can be the best leader I can be. You have to practice what you preach, right?
Yeah, especially being an entrepreneur, because as the moms are seeing you, they're gonna think, do I have to run around too? And so I think for you to be able to emulate that will only add to your credibility. So thank you for sharing.
That is such a great point. And you know, I preach that all the time about you really need to build your business around the life you want. And so many times people do what I was just doing, and then they make all this money and they realize they can't step away at all. And now they're miserable. But I hadn't put the connection on the women that I'm working with, and that I'm expected to be the example for them, because I'm teaching them. They have the same lives and crazy as I do. If I'm not doing it, how are they going to learn? Yeah. Good connection. I missed that one.
The last question that I have is around your business and your actual marketing plan. Being guilty of it myself, I can get in the mode of I should be doing all the things marketing, when that isn't necessarily the best use of my time, and it isn't energizing for me. So as you think about your ideal marketing plan, and if you were generating leads consistently, you mentioned speaking. What are the top 3 or 4 kind of marketing strategies that you think would be most beneficial to you, and that would be most enjoyable to you as a business builder?
Well, I definitely, like I said, Clubhouse is included. I love Clubhouse. And what I love about Clubhouse is that I don't have to just speak about being an entrepreneur. I can go into speaking about trauma, and because trauma is my passion. That was my epiphany of when I've been sober for 6 years, and my epiphany was when I healed that trauma, the world opened up to me. And I love that I can be vocal about that on any stage I'm in Clubhouse, and that it does generate leads and people to meet with me because they see that authenticity. So definitely speaking. I tried to do the webinar route, and that just has not been successful. I think that right now people are really longing for one-on-one connection, and I think that is like the best avenue that I can spend my time. So it's Clubhouse, and then it's one-on-one appointments. And while that probably isn't the best route long-term, because a one-on-one appointment is an hour, for now, enough to build that momentum and help me tighten up my messaging, I think. And so that, I think, for now. As far as, I also think social media, I could definitely be more organized around my social media, but I am consistent on my social media. And I have chosen, the platforms that I'm all over are, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and mostly Instagram, but that's because Instagram is the one that's tied to Clubhouse the most. And I didn't even like Instagram before I did this. And now all of a sudden, I'm an But yeah, and then just yesterday, I had the idea of, for the members that I have signed on, offering a referral for them, because one of my big coaching things is that I'm going to help you learn how to coach. And so if they bring on someone that is interested in them coaching, I allow them to do the consult instead of me. And then they get a free coaching session with me so that I can help guide them coach that person when they're coming on. And so the referral, I'm hoping, we'll see if it has momentum. I don't know. I just figured that one out yesterday. It sounds like I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants girl. And there's definitely some of that in there.
This is awesome. Yep. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
That's great. So this is the point in our journey where everyone can give a response. So as you're just collecting for a second, Tanya, I'll have this recording for you, so you can just be fully here and present, and don't worry about notes. We'll give you a transcription, and so you'll have that. And we're going to go ahead and start in the same order and begin with Richard.
That's some fearsome energy you have there, Tanya. It's amazing, and like that's obviously been a focal point for everyone else here today too. It's rare to see energy as big and as powerful as yours, and coming from such a generous place. very often what I see in people is that energy that big usually comes from a place of fear or anger when you dig underneath it, but I don't feel that yours does. So that's a really beautiful thing. There are two things that I would be interested to work with you on. One is, you said you were against collaboration, but I mean, no one gets anywhere without it, I don't think, in some way, shape, or form. Some kind of free offering that could be monetized indirectly. I think what you have to say would be a benefit to a great many people who can't even pay a low price. They can't pay any price. And it would be nice if there was some of your energy available for them. The second thing is, again, related to that incredible energy of yours, whenever I've encountered people that have energy like that, it tends to reach dizzying heights and woeful lows. I would like to personally have some follow-up with you about consistency and not so much moderating yourself, but really getting into a flow state instead of chewing yourself up, because I'm guessing that happens with you sometimes. And they're really the two things that I would want to focus on with you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Christy.
Oh boy, here we go. So I'm just listening to all this and just taking you all in. And I want to say, and you're a whole new thing. You're what you're trying to put together here and what you're trying to do with all the heart and all this. Not that people haven't had this idea before, but honey, you're going to make it work. Okay. You do have a purpose. You're right. There is things guiding you, things lining up for you. There's not coincidence. So it's going to get really big, and you have that energy to cover that vastness, but it's going to spread you very thin. So you need to write down your formulas, these new formulas that you're creating, these new ways of working for people. I think you need to kind of write that down for yourself, just so that you can refer back to it, because you're going to go at 90 miles an hour. People are going to eat this up. So you really need to take those quiet moments when you can and write down your own formulas. You're making a whole new box for people to climb into and climb out of. Same thing. Come in and go, oh my goodness, I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited this is happening. And I'm just wonderful that I get to meet you and interact with you in this way. So that's really the best thing I can say is you seem to be building it correctly. You seem to be doing enough of the head space and the heart space and all that aligning together. So when it does get too big, when the energy gets too much, you need to take that moment, write down those formulas, write down that way that's working for you, so that you can kind of go back to that and kind of bring it in for yourself. So that's truly my suggestion. So I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Christy, just a follow-up question. If Tanya wants to spend time with you after today, what might she expect in an encounter with you for an hour?
Oh my goodness. I'm an interesting flavor. I come in a more of a lot of soul work, heart work, energy work. So I'm glad that you spoke about the Reiki and things like that, because there's a whole lot of energy play happening in this. There's a whole lot of dynamics going on. So you could just a whole lot of centering, a whole lot of more focus to this great big, it's like you've been handed Superman's cape. Now, how do you use it? And I could maybe help you bring that into play, help you to kind of focus those laser beam eyes instead of,
Oof.
So yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Corey.
Hi, Tanya. So first of all, I love everything that you've said here. I love your mission. I love your target audience. It is an audience, obviously, that is near and dear as well to my heart. A couple of things jump out at me. The first one is that you talked about licensing your content, right? And having other coaches use your content and things like that. So I am reminding you to make sure that you do that officially with proper legal and licensing and things like that. I am also an attorney in another life. But the bigger thing that jumps out at me is the amount of work you're trying to do at the price point at which you're trying to do it, right? So I'm sure that you know that the market is pretty clear about what you get for a $10 a month membership versus there are memberships that are $5,000 and $10,000 a month, right? When you're talking about these sort of elite memberships, right? So I'm wondering if one of two things is happening. One, are you attempting to count people's money for them, right? Like I'm wondering where you got the idea that $10 is the right place and the only place that you can be, even for low resource women. The other thing I'm wondering is whether your not enoughness is affecting your price point. Because you can, even for low income women, you can go a little bit higher, I think, than that, especially when you're throwing in all of these free coaching sessions and then coaching sessions if they bring in somebody. So I did some back of the envelope calculation, which I'm sure you've already done. I'm sorry. And just for you to have a $2 million business, just with what you've told us, it would require you to have over 10,000 people in your community. I get what you're trying to do. I think you may have some room. And if you want to keep it there, the question would be, how can you deliver valuable content that doesn't exhaust you? Because with those 10,000 people, and your model is also 10,000 free coaching sessions. So I'm wondering, because a $2 million business is not bad until you throw in 10,000 coaching sessions, right? But I'm wondering if you could, and I could help you with figuring out what actually is a good price point, because sometimes, and when you talk about people who own restaurants and things, right, these are people who are accustomed to investing tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars to get their businesses up and running, right? So you may not have to be at $10. If you want to be at $10, the question becomes, how do you structure a delivery that fills you and not depletes you, right? And some of that may have something to do with the not enoughness. I don't know. That would take some exploring. But I'd like to see you do it at margins that work for you, that provide the service to the people who may not have the resources. Because if one of those is missing, then the whole thing falls apart. So I'd like to work with you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Johnny.
Yeah. So there would be a couple of things that I would want to work with you on. I think there's the leadership, personal sustainability side. I believe your business lives in your body. If your body is in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, it's going to show up in your business in some form or fashion, whether it be in your sales, your marketing, your conversations with people, your offer. So there's that piece, because I think there needs to be some kind of cohesive strategy that includes your personal enjoyment with your business's financial sustainability. On the business side, it sounds like you need to do a little bit of work on your roadmap, from tightening up your offer all the way to how you want to go about marketing your offering, where you go to offer. And one of the things that came to mind is, who are you partnering with? So specifically, if you're wanting to work with women of color, are you connected with leaders who already have large communities of color that you could then tap into and do some kind of collaboration with? Or do you need to cultivate those relationships as well? The last little piece, and this is more of an internal thing, is there was something that shifted for me when I heard your story about you being sober for 6 years in the video challenge. I was like, there's Tanya. And there, my sense is that the women that you're dealing with or you're wanting to work with might not necessarily be dealing with sobriety, but there could be a lot of shame and guilt in what they're dealing with, whether it's around being a single mom and trying to figure out, am I there enough? Am I taking care of my kids? Am I doing all the things? And I think that is where your heart messaging can come in, and looking at how do you tie that into your business, because that's why the women will want to work with you. The business and sales and marketing piece is great, but now that you're adding this piece in it, they will see, oh, she gets me as a human being. She knows that experience. There's not going to be any shaming and blaming as I'm trying to build my business and figure out how to make sure my kid is getting their schooling done and all of the other things. And so I think that can definitely be a benefit to you and your business and your story.
Donnie, what might Tanya expect from spending an hour with you after?
We would begin, I guess, outlining your marketing plan or your strategy and your marketing plan. And then I'd also give you some nervous system somatic practices that you could use to do either on a daily basis or a weekly basis. You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, Tanya, here's your moment. You get soak in for a second, but it's time to select somebody to connect with after.
Well, I just have to share, like, thank you all for, I feel like you all got me. You got the essence of what I was trying to do. Every one of you were right on with your assessments. I mean, you really were. I wish that I could just bundle you all up. Yeah, wow. I don't know if I expected this to go this way, but this was a very pleasant surprise. So after hearing everyone, though, I honestly feel like the person that spoke to me on the most urgency of what I need to handle and what I need to handle right now at this phase is Corey. I feel like she hit the nail on the head about my pricing. And it was interesting when you said, is that coming from a place of I am enough? And that has been the loud voice lately. I think there might be something there. So yeah, Corey is the one that I think everyone could help me, but I think Corey right now, while I'm building the structure, is the one that's the most urgent.
Okay, awesome. That'll be great. I would love to see you get to a place where you feel good about what you're providing, but also good about what you're giving to yourself in the process, right? Because that's the formula for long-term sustainability. So yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanya, for coming today.
Thank you so much, you all. This was amazing. Thank you.
Much love. Much love.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.